Hello from Dream Vacations. We look forward to helping you plan a cruise vacation where you can race your friends on the top deck while cruising the oceans, or you can compete with your friends in style with virtual reality racing on board. If cruising is not for you, we can send you to Germany, where you can challenge the ring, or whisk you off to Abu Dhabi to take on the world's fastest roller coaster in Ferrari World. Whatever your dream vacation may be, let Dream Vacations handle the details and make that dream into reality. Visit us at www.travelwithanangel.com.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Overbay and Luke must be looking at the points championship and thinking now is the time to strike. Few chances remain with this being the penultimate round, and on top of it, Unger has the most wins so far this season. However, the margin is small between those two in the Aussie, and it could easily turn on a dime. But the bad news for the hopefuls is that we've entered home ground for Unger. Will it provide him the extra speed he needs to pull away? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 9 of the PRL Radical Racing Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Nick, Phillip Island provides a fascinating mix of corners. I'd almost say it's the Australian answer to Laguna Seca.
Yeah, that's definitely a great way of looking at it. It's tight and twisty, lots of elevation change, and quite a bit of speed as well, so that's definitely a fair comparison. 1956 is the year that the first race was officially held here at the Phillip Island circuit, and since then it's been a staple on calendars like the V8 Supercars, first showing up here in 1990. Riding around here, you get a sense of not only the great scenery here in southern Victoria, but also the amount of trouble drivers might find themselves in. The up and down S's through Lukey Heights is going to wreak havoc for the Radicals tonight, and that's if they're able to get through the first sector of the track through the daunting southern loop and the tight Honda corner. 4.5 kilometers later, or about 2.7 miles, spread over 12 challenging turns, you have a circuit around Phillip Island. So there you have the stats, now you're gonna feel the speed. Allow me to now send you down to the island to hop on board the GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Phil Lake and the GSRC Radical, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. Down the front stretch, expect some drafting games just because of the sheer speed these cars build up along this flat-out blast. Even Doohan is easily flat out, but you'll still want to get the car across to set up for the southern loop. There's a crest right in the middle of this long left-hander, making it very easy to understeer off if you get a little wide. It's important that you square off the exit to get a good launch, because you're heading towards one of the more popular passing zones. Stoner is something of a nothing corner in this car, but you do want to hold to the left side for a straighter braking zone into Honda. This hairpin will see plenty of action, but not just with overtakes. Low-speed corners are tough on the throttle, so expect some spinning tires. After that, there's no rest before Siberia. This is a unique turn in that it's uphill, steeply banked, and has a frustratingly late apex. Try to carry your speed as best you can because you're going to continue to climb uphill all the way to the top of the course. Through the S's, you're simply going to straighten the track out, but be careful not to trip over your opponents if you get side by side. Now we've come to Lukey Heights, which will really tempt you into being aggressive. There's just a lift through here, but get off the racing line and expect to be mowing the grass. Before you know it, you're braking for MG, and with a steep downhill, it's easy to outbrake yourself. Careful off the corner as well, because the penultimate turn will make you be patient with the throttle. Even still, you'll be handsomely rewarded if you can find the power sooner than anyone else because there's no lifting through Swan. And with the car being back on the pit straight, you've now hopefully finished a lap around Phillip Island. Those ups and downs through the hills should really give you a sense of the elevation change around here, because it might not necessarily look like it on the surface, with it being a lot of open area, not many trees on this course. But if this looks beautiful to you, well, you could maybe potentially visit it. That's because the PRL Radical Racing Series is brought to you by Dream Vacations. Dream Vacations provides completely customizable vacation packages from your door to your destination and back. Go to travelwithanangel.com and let us worry about the details. Big thanks to Dream Vacations for sponsoring this season of the Radical Racing Series. But the championship is closing down. It is this round and one more to go. So let's take a look at the driver points. I said that it was tight, and as you look at where they sit, Overbay's only 10 back. Now, Unger could still try and cruise just right behind Overbay the rest of the season and still take home the victory, but we've seen that nothing can be taken for granted with these cars, so I'd say that this is still wide open. And Luke, 19 points behind Unger, also really could still come back in this thing. Again, a full victory and all bonus points is worth, I believe, 38 or 39 points currently this season. Curlin Andrew jumps up one position, and Eric Harmon can't discredit those two for how they've come back late in the season. Harmon coming up 3. What about the team's championship, Nick? Is that just as close?
Well, it's not quite close up at the top. Left Side Drive Racing is really starting to pull away. They have a Jefferson Padovani-sized gap in between them. 69 points between them and Blown Tranny Racing. Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing, they moved up one spot. Fraley's Auto Body right behind them, but only 4 points separate them. So while spots number 1 and 2 not very tight at all, the podium's still up for grabs there. The Geodesic Racing guys, Fraley's Auto Body guys still back there. And while the graphic doesn't show it, 5th and 6th only separated by 5 points, White Flag Racing and Crash for Cash. So, yeah, definitely lots up for bids in the middle of the field there.
So what exactly will they be doing out here today to try and determine those points? Let's take a look at the race details. They are racing as the whole season in the Radical SR8, and the setups on the cars are open. Now, the fuel is restricted, so you can expect one scheduled pit stop in this 45-minute race. And probably no tire changes in that because it is so short. They have an incident cap of 24. That might actually come into play because I'm seeing a few drivers have a lot of laps discounted here in the qualifying. You will actually be disqualified in the race if you hit that 24 and find yourself disappearing and day done instantly. There's also no free car waiting for you in the pits. If you get damage, you've got to take those repairs if you get any sort of bent up wing on this thing, and that could be critical at a track like this. This race is brought to you on the iRacing Esports Network. Once again, all you got to do is subscribe to make sure that you get all of the Radical Racing series in your YouTube feed. Go to their YouTube page, click the red button that says subscribe, and then you'll get this and many others in your feed. Taking a look at the qualifying, Unger took a while to get some laps down, but now that he's clean, he's jumped up to the front ahead of last round's winner, Eric Luke, who is 3/100ths back. So it looks like once Unger got his gremlins out of the way here, Nick, he's taken the fight back to Luke.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it took a while for him to set a lap tonight, but like you said, David Unger, we call him David Unger from down under, being here in Australia, so he's got some home track advantage tonight as well. definitely going to come into play. Mark Feil sitting in third. Good result for, or good showing for him so far.
At the beginning of the last round, Overbay qualified well, but then unfortunately had trouble getting off the line. Overbay not doing so hot in the qualifying currently. That number 1 car is going to start 5th if things don't change. It's about half a second off of David Unger, who he is currently behind in the championship points. This is Eric Luke that we're riding on board. Let's see if this one's going to be any faster than that 1:23.6. Again, only 3 100ths that he needs to improve onto the front stretch out of Swan. Is this going to be good enough for the 09? He's still got a number of laps left, and if he wants to try and challenge him, no, it is a 23.9, 3/10 off his fastest.
About Stevie Ray all the way up in 7th position. Has not had a good couple of weeks, but comes onto the front stretch here. Like I said, sitting up in 7th, so looking for a top 10. That lap not going to count.
I think he's finally got the car under him. He had to transition, you remember, from the much slower Spec Racer Ford to a much faster prototype here in the SR8, but I think he's got it now. This is Cristelli, currently sits in 11th. This lap, not going to be faster. In fact, that looks like it was an outlap based on the time. McLaughlin currently sits in 4th on the 2nd row. This is a great qualifying for Owen. Not going to go any faster, but he's certainly positioning himself well for this race. Now, in slower cars, we've seen this course offer up quite a bit of drafting on the front stretch, and I have to imagine it'll at least give some tow, but how much of an effect do you think it'll have in these cars coming around Swan and down through Doohan, since they're not lifting through either of those turns?
Yeah, no, they're not, and I think that's the reason we're going to see quite a bit of slipstream there in that first part of the track on the front stretch, like you said. I think that's gonna cause some interesting maneuvers, as we see so often here, down into the southern loop and through that first couple of tight, twisty sections, but also very fast sweeping sections there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all pans out. Drivers are really going to have to be careful. These cars have a tendency to snap, especially at high speeds.
That's a good point. And with some of these off-camber and strange corners that they have on this circuit, certainly catch a few out. Phil Guillaumin at least is going to get this lap in, and it's going to be his fastest at a 25.4. Unfortunately for him, that big jump only takes him up to 16th place, which is 1 position up. So McLaughlin on fire this time. Coming around across the line. Let's see what this one's going to be worth. 24.8, still more than half a second off of his fastest lap. Now I'm noticing, looking down pit lane here, Nick, that one driver is still kind of hanging out in there and has not set a time, and we've seen it from that driver before.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything from Jefferson Padovani yet. He's starting to crawl in the pits. A little bit of an interesting strategy. He might be waiting to the last second here. It looks like he's going to go now.
In the past, he has tried to just come from the back and have some fun passing cars. So maybe that's what he's doing today.
Yeah, not fighting for a championship either, so.
Yeah, exactly. But even still, we've talked before, and he's admitted as much. Oh, Overbay goes up to 3rd with that last lap. That puts Mark Feil down 1, as well as Owen McLaughlin. That's much better and more of what we expected from the number 1 car. But back to the point of Padovani, he said that he'd be willing to help out his teammate. And with things being so tight between Overbay and Unger, I'm kind of surprised that Padovani isn't trying to start up front so that he can be in a position to help him out.
Yeah, exactly. He could run somewhat of a blocker for him, or a defensive pick for him throughout the race. I guess it would help in theory for him to be in the back, but not nearly as much as it would to have him up front. So yeah, interesting point there, but it looks like he's setting himself up for a hot lap here, so it'll be interesting to see if he can get up there or if he is going to have to work his way from the back of the field.
It was Wildridge crossing the line. His fastest lap so far does not get him any higher than 11th, unfortunately. A 24.9 for him. Scotty Zerk currently the last car to have put a time in. At a 1:39.5 being his fastest. He is way off the pace, actually. That's a little bit more representative. A 1:28.7. He's still got about 2 seconds to make up to McManus in 19th, but at least he's looking a little closer to the rest of the field. Oh, and Overbay just took second. Michael Overbay faster than Eric Luke, but still not faster than Unger. In fact, the top three are all still within 3/100ths of a second.
Indeed. And an update on Jefferson Padovani. He actually made his outlap completely, and just as he got to the finish line, pulled it off the track. So not quite sure what's up with the 69 car tonight, but now he's rolling again. But it's a very interesting strategy he has here in qualifying.
Unger got by the line just in time, but it wasn't his fastest. And he's definitely not going to do another one as he goes off course. So does Eric Luke have enough underneath him to try and get those 3/100ths of a second? He's been trying for a number of laps. He's coming around for the last opportunity. That's Stevie Ray we see abandoning his. He's gotten all the way up to 8th. Luke coming around through the MG hairpin just as Scotty Zert goes off track in front of him. He won't be blocking him at all. Up to Swan Corner. What's the 09 have? Nothing, because he comes into the pits. He is going to be starting behind both of his championship rivals. What about Matthew Gunderson in the top 10? His second lap was his fastest. It's a 24.9. This one is going to be a 25 flat, just shy of his best one. I believe Spicer should be our last car to cross, to be able to cross at least. He sits in 14th on the front stretch, gaining speed. This one, though, only going to be a 25.8 compared to his 25.3. And looks like Padovani also not going to finish this lap as he comes into the pits. He will elect to start from the back because that is everybody that has finished. Let's go through your starting order here today. David Unger will be on the pole, as we mentioned, and Michael Overbay will be flanking him. Again, Overbay is the closest so far, even though it was Luke who won last round, and Overbay's only won one so far this season. Eric Luke does start in third behind both of them. The outside of that row two will be Mark File. Owen McLaughlin, an excellent qualifying to get himself into 5th place, with Christopher Richards continuing to show speed. He's got to find the finish line this time, though. He'll start 6th. Curlin Andrew, he was up and down at Sebring, but he'll start from 7th. Maybe he could work his way up to 4th yet again. Stevie Ray needs to finish a race as well. He'll be starting from 8th in a good spot to try and do that. David Cristelli starts 9th, and then Matthew Gunderson rounds out your top 10.
Right behind them in row number 6, it is the Hoosier alongside the Canadian Paul Wildridge in 67. Starting in 11th with Danny Duchesne, who was outside in 12th. Number 13, or the 13th position, going to go to the number 66 of Daniel Barnett with Andy Spicer alongside him. Tyler Gore and Phil Guillaume are going to slot in behind in row number 8. Row 9 goes to Joe Walker and Ronald McManus with David Hebert and Scotty Zerk setting the last qualifying times. They'll be in row 10. The two DN Hughes are going to be Jefferson Padovani back there in 21st, winner of the season opener at the Glen, and William Lee back in 22nd.
Real quick note on the rules for this race. They have told the drivers they must use the long pit exit, to have it be found legal. They will not be allowed to use the short pit exit that dumps you right into traffic. Now, we don't know what the punishment will be if they do fall afoul of that, but they have been warned not to. We'll get back to you if that happens. In the meantime, the lights are up. Green flag is out off the line. It was a lot of wheel spin for Unger, but he's still good. Michael Overbay follows him, but it's Mark File who manages to slip into 3rd ahead of Eric Luke for the moment. Behind them, Curlin Andrew coming streaming through, and Curlin's up to P5 now already as they break for the Southern Loop for the first time. Curlin looking to see if he can take 4th. That's not going to work out. Most of the cars going single file.
A little bit of double file back in the back of the pack, in the middle of the pack. Couple of checkups being caused from that, but it looks like all 22 cars that rolled off the grid are going to come through the Southern Loop as well.
Not seeing William Lee out there, but and I think we had a bit of an incident, and it looks like Duchesne involved in it. I think Andy Spicer and Scotty Zerk as well. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Not surprised to see Honda Corner find some victims. Matthew Gunderson as well off immediately after that through Siberia. Well, it was a clean first few corners, Nick, but the following few seemed to have caught a few out.
Yeah, a couple of those checkups that I talked about, just, turn after turn, eventually causing a couple of the dominoes to fall in the right way and a couple of the drivers being caught off guard by that. But now we watch the leaders. David Unger going to lead the first lap here. He's got Overbay behind him in second. Bit of a bigger gap back to Eric Luke and Mark Feil there in third and fourth. Curlin Andrew, like you said, making up lots of spots, going from 7th to 5th on the start.
Down through Doohan, Overbay looks like the most likely to challenge Unger as he stays within a handy 0.3 of a second. They break for the Southern Loop for the second time. Luke trying his hardest to give chase, but just can't seem to get within a second of them. They come down to Honda Corner. Let's see if this one will be any cleaner in the mid-pack, though.
Trying to pick up as much slipstream as he can through the turns. As we take a glance back at 8th place position, this battle back here, Stevie Ray continues to fight with drivers back here. Padovani, how about Padovani already up in the top 10?
Is he really up to 8th? That is incredible. And he's going to throw it away right now as he spins off track, bounds over the berm, and his car is still right side up, but he's going to be very damaged. Oh, that's going to do more damage. Comes down off the berm.
It was an incredible start, but
wow, got some real air. And just as that happened, Steve Ray lost it in Lukey Heights. He found the wall. He's all the way to the back of the field, and I think he's too damaged to continue because that car is really grabbing. Return to the lead and live time. I think we have our answer about the slipstream because Overbay, every time they get up to the front stretch, it looks like he gets closer and closer to Unger. Oh, and Luke is off. Luke is off in the Southern Loop. He's losing one position to Feil, his teammate, another one to Curlin Andrew. Christopher Richards gets by, and finally he returns to the track down in 6th.
Yeah, I've been watching the first couple of laps for Eric Luke. He's been going wider and wider, especially there through the Southern Loop. That's a turn that just never seems to end. And that caught him off there.
Well, what was about a second behind the overall leader has now become 6 seconds. So Eric Luke has got a lot of work to do to get back into the game. 41 minutes left on the clock, and this is proven to be an incredibly difficult track. Looks like Barnett. Yeah. This was in Siberia.
Right in front of Joe Walker, but I don't think Walker had any help in this. I think he was just behind him.
Yeah, he didn't touch him. Here we've got the replay coming up to Honda. Ooh, he gets awful close, locks him up, trying to stay out of, who is that? Is that a bear? Yes, it is. And falls off of him there, and also falls off the track. Manages to not do what Padovani did, and get it going once again, but that was a costly mistake. Don't need to go to it, but Christopher Richards a little off in the Southern Loop. He lost one position. He's down to 6th. Well, Nick, this is looking like a race that if you just keep it on the track, you're gonna have a good finish.
Yeah, and we see a little bit of a stack up here. Danny Duchesne gonna go around. The attrition adds up even more. That was Tyler Gore and Paul Wildridge behind him for 8th place. Take a look at this once again.
This is perhaps the most spins and mistakes we've seen since the very first race of coverage of this series that we had at Spa. We see Duchesne going off course, and it might be contributed to by the temperatures, because I'm looking now and it's 103 degrees on the track, so it certainly can't be too grippy.
Yeah, it's that hot Australian heat down here catching a lot of these drivers off guard. That and an already difficult track.
Certainly is. Unger leads over Bay, but Michael's giving chase. He's staying within about 0.3 of a second. This is what he needs to do for now to at least keep the pressure on David. The question is, can he catch him fully and then get by to take that lead away? Because he's got to start gaining points on him if he wants to have a chance in the final round next week.
He's been catching him a little bit, especially on the front stretch, like we've said, but it's in these tighter technical sections. I think David Unger just a little bit stronger in.
Another issue for Wildridge. I believe this was in the southern loop. Yeah, don't need a replay of this. It's yet another car that just goes wide. Meanwhile, Curlin Andrew has Eric Luke right behind him, but for how much longer? You can see Luke taking a look up into Lukey Heights. He's going to have to fall back a little bit in the wake of that banana split car and set him up for later.
Curlin Andrew on a tear to start this race, even after running into a little bit of a difficulty. He has been able to keep it on the track and has gone from 7th up to 3rd. That's going to become 4th, I think, because Luke going to slip in underneath him.
Certainly will, and we need a replay of Phil Guillaumin from about 30 or 40 seconds ago. He had a monster crash, but he had help. This was the teammate of Andrew, Danny Duchesne. Let's see, we might have to back up a little bit farther, it looks like. It was coming up out of Siberia that this happened.
Ooh, yeah. He almost hooked that berm like we saw Jefferson Padovani, but it was right, of course, of all places where that steward's scoring stand is.
You're going to see it out of here. It looks like he doesn't get on the power as soon as Andrew expects. Maybe he has a little slide or something? No, doesn't really. Looked a little rude. Back live once again. Overbay's lost about 0.3 to Unger. You could see the gap has increased visibly on screen, but that's not the only gap that is increasing. It is now 3.5 seconds back to Mark File in the 777. And there's nothing between File and his teammate Luke. So, do these drivers also have a bit of team orders at play? If Luke gets close enough, is Mark going to be told to get out of the way and let Luke through?
Back in 8th place, a little bit of a battle between Tyler Gore. We saw his teammate Matthew Gunderson with problems early in this race, but he's still out there strong in 8th. David Cristelli behind him, newcomer a couple of weeks ago. He survived the first 6 laps here.
Watching Cristelli's view as he gains, and now he's ducking to the inside through Doohan. And while it would give him the outside for the southern loop, he doesn't have to worry about that because Gore gave a big lift. Gore's going to let him have that 8th position for the moment. So that settles that battle momentarily. With all the action we've seen, we've actually only had, it looks like, 5 retirements. Gunderson, Padovani, Ray, Zerk, and Guillaumin, as it looks like Gore outbreaks himself coming into Honda corner, and that's definitely going to cost him time to Cristelli.
Yeah, the one thing about Phillip Island is you see a lot of offs. You don't see as many, hard crashes as we take a look back at the lead. But we've seen a lot of guys go off in the southern loop and elsewhere on the track, just getting into the sand and the gravel. But not so much damage, just a lot of time lost for a lot of drivers tonight.
And when you lose a lot of time, especially this early in the race, that makes me question how much lap traffic will there be, especially towards the end. And Daniel Barnett has had a problem, I think. I'm checking to see. Oh, he blew his engine. Don't need to get a replay of this. He just went up in smoke through Siberia, pulled it off course, and called it a day. Meanwhile, back with Christopher Richards, who had a really fun scrap at Sebring, is currently holding off Owen McLaughlin. The number 5 car runs in 7th. The number 49 of Richards runs in P6.
McLaughlin a little bit on the curbs there. Not going to help him in terms of setting up some draft here on the back of Richards. Still going to get a little toe, though, down the front stretch.
McLaughlin now come up the back stretch through the S's, through Hayshed, which blends into Lukey Heights. Let's see, drops off just a little bit, trying to move their way through this long left-hander. Gains his ground, coming through the braking of MG, looking very strong through that hairpin onto the front stretch, but this is where he needs to be strong, and look at him just fall away.
Yeah. Caught him out a lap ago right there. Caught him out there again. Can't tell if that's, I mean, if Christopher Richards is just really strong there, especially with his setup maybe, or if just a little bit of struggles from Owen McLaughlin.
Yeah, if he was just that little bit closer, he could certainly look to have a pass on Richards, because he gained a lot down that front stretch. So out of our 21 starters, only 15 are still out on track. A number are taking repairs in the pits. Excuse me, make that 16. I see Matthew Gunderson has returned. Still, the herd has been thinned significantly. Looking at Wildridge, a nice little fight with Danny Duchesne. Wildridge has a spotter watching the race. He might want to tell him that Duchesne is a little bit pushy today. The way we saw before, and this is where he had the incident before, as Wildridge went way wide, but this time looks like Duchesne's going to find a little bit of track. He's going to go around the outside of Hayshed, almost runs out of track in there, but it gives him the inside into Lukey Heights. Not the bravery at first, a little wide, and off track goes Paul Wildridge. He's into the alfalfa, tries to bring it back. He doesn't spin the car. Oh, and ahead of him, Duchesne gets into Tyler Gore, who is stopped on track. Paul Wildridge almost saved by his own mistake, but then he loses out once more. It is chaos in the mid-pack.
Tyler Gore is spinning totally separate from these guys. On the downcline from Lukey Heights, like you said, and Danny Duchesne had no clue there was going to be a car sitting sideways there.
Those spots change positions about 5 times in a quarter of a lap. And you see the initial look, and there goes Wildridge off course, and yeah, poor Duchesne thought he was home free until suddenly the car up in front of him decided to spin in MG, and with 30 minutes left to go, that's some severe damage on the front of Duchesne.
And now look at the stack up that it's caused. Danny Duchesne now leading a pack of 5 cars back here. That's Wildridge behind him. Tyler Gore, McManus, and Walker have also joined the picture.
And Wildridge has gained on him fast. I think the top speed of Duchesne is really down because of that botched nose. Let's see if, as they gain speed up to the top part of the course, if this is going to give an opportunity to Paul. The Hoosier driver not interested quite yet. Looking a little bit around the outside as Luke has now gotten by File. So I don't know if that was team orders, but looks like, I think that was indeed team orders.
Yeah, I think so. It was on the, I believe this was back on the front stretch, yeah. And while he did have the draft, I don't think File was going to put up much of a fight here. Yeah.
That's a big lift right there. You don't suddenly slow that much for that corner. That puts Luke into third. He's still got nearly 6 seconds to make up to Overbay in front of him. But fascinatingly, the first, second, and third cars on track are now first, second, and third in the points.
Taking a look back here at 9th place. 5-car battle still. Wildridge holding off Duchesne. But Tyler Gore seems to be closing in a little bit. And behind him, McManus and Walker are at it. Walker getting around McManus.
No, it looks McManus is ahead. Oh, Duchesne, yeah. Duchesne had recently lost that spot from Wildridge. Remember, he was chasing him down.
Didn't get into the wall.
See this in so many slow corners with these cars. Finding the throttle sends you facing the wrong way in a hurry. So yeah, the Canadian very lucky there not to hit the tires, but now he's down in 14th. That spread apart that battle, and that battle swapped positions back in 11th and 12th once more because McManus just got overtaken by Walker, and now we've got a bear on screen in the grass. What's happening here?
Looks like coming down off Lukey Heights once again. This one caught him off guard. A little too much acceleration, and almost Danny Duchesne getting into another car coming off there.
Well, if you want a gift idea for our director, a new replay button would be good because it's getting a workout today. A bear down to 14th since Duchesne manages to overtake him. Christopher Richards, in the meantime, is in front of Owen McLaughlin, the teammate to Wildridge, and Matthew Gunderson, but Gunderson is a lap down. So Gunderson just kind of hanging out on this one. He doesn't need to get involved in this race. Oh, big mistake from Richards, who goes way wide with a puff of smoke down at MG. He keeps it from going off course, but that was a little scary.
And that really helped McLaughlin close in on him for a moment there because he was sliding all over the track through Lukey Heights. Seemed all out of sorts, and Matthew Gunderson closed in on him, but now they're all pretty evenly spaced apart as they head down into turn number 1.
Oh, they're getting closer to Richards. That draft is helping McLaughlin. They come through Doohan. He won't be able to get side by side, but he went from about half a second back to 2/10. On board with the California driver. Number 5 gives watch. Not going to be a chance down into Honda. Ooh, but look at him close. Oh, and I think he outbraked himself way off the apex. That light blue car eventually gets going where it needs to go, but it was in a hurry to head off into the runoff.
Yeah, they all bunched up there pretty quickly, and now you see them spread all apart. As they get back on the gas. McLaughlin's still trying to close in on him. Trying to pick up as much slipstream and tow, especially through the corners. That's when it's hard to get through there.
Oh, and Wildridge.
Ah,
Where did he go off? I think he avoided the wall. Well, this is looking very familiar.
it is indeed.
You're going to see coming out of Honda
It's like the
in the
curbs
exact
might have
same
had some-
way.
Yeah, the curbs might have had some help on this one.
I think you're right. He was awful wide at the exit from watching that. He's gotten going in 12th position, just ahead of the driver that did the exact same thing, Danny Duchesne. And this is a battle for position. That's McManus, who managed to get by from that spin. He's trying to bring it back. The Hoosier sets him up, coming through Swan, and I think this is going to be a slam dunk. He is right underneath that rear wing, using the draft, stays to the inside. McManus has a fruitless move to defend. As now fully by goes Paul Wildridge, and I think that was a lift eventually from McManus.
I think so. I don't think he wanted to get too involved in that. Christopher Richards still continues to hold off the likes of Owen McLaughlin for 6th. Gunderson still lurking behind him, but not for position.
I think we may have had a scheduled stop. We're well into the window. Andy Spicer has come in. As we watch this battle, Richard still fending off McLaughlin with Gunderson just waiting, hoping that he doesn't get involved and tangled up in this mess. Oh, and McLaughlin is very close. He is awful close coming onto the front stretch. I think he might have Richards here.
Richards going all the way down to that inside wall. They're almost getting into it. But here comes McLaughlin. Like you said, he's going to have the room. He has the line, and he's got the speed to take that position. He gets up on the curbs a little bit. Manages to keep that number 5 car straight, and he holds on to it for now.
That moves McLaughlin up to 6th place, but he's got a 3.5 second gap to the next car up, which, let's give a little bit of credit to the car in 5th place. Curlin Andrew, who we saw slipping and sliding around last race, seems to have found himself a steady setup and is running in a smooth top 5, having qualified in 7th.
Yeah, jumped to lots of positions right at the start. Right as I say that, Danny Duchesne has come into the pit, his teammate.
Duchesne with that, I think it was the one that got damage on the front. Getting into Gore, was it not?
I don't know. I lost track after the 27th accident we had tonight.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Okay, we're watching McLaughlin. He's coming up to the pit entry too. He's going to stay out. He's running away even from Christopher Richards, who he had been battling with. Richards also elects to continue on, and we're firmly at halfway.
Still fairly early for a lot of these front runners to come in based off of what we've seen in the first 8 rounds. But it might trigger something, especially with all the attrition we've seen tonight. And even up here for the championship battle, as we watch Unger hold a 5-second lead over Overbay for the race lead. Might see a couple of desperate strategies from Overbay and Luke.
I suspect that hearts are sinking in 2nd and 3rd place, because the way that Unger has been able to pull that gap, not only to Overbay, but Luke has not been able to recover either. He's another 5 seconds back from Overbay. The championship is slipping away from them. Now, it won't be mathematically over if things finish as they are. It's just going to be that much harder for them to beat Unger. Tyler Gore had an off. I think this one in the southern loop. And another car just understeering off. Don't really need another replay of this one. We've seen it a billion times. So that puts Gore in 11th. You know, we saw Duchesne go in, and we thought it was a scheduled stop, and it may have been, but he was in there for a minute and a half. I think he got that damage repaired. Yeah, he was way down.
Might have been struggling with some downforce, I suspect. Might be a little unsettling. Might have decided it. A 90-second repair job might have been beneficial, lasting out the last 22 minutes of the race.
Oh no, Luke with another issue, and it's the same corner.
It is. It's the southern loop, just getting off, just like he did before, just missing the mark.
That has been calamity corner so far this race. It's a good thing that we don't have gravel that actually catches the car and keeps you in it so far in iRacing, because it would be a parking lot out there currently if they did in iRacing. Looks like Tyler Gore is going to come in. Wildridge also pits. Still waiting for a lot of the top drivers to come in with 21 minutes left to go. Wildridge out. Gore out. Make sure they use the correct pit exit, though. Yes, they do.
It's a long pit exit, like you mentioned. They got to go all the way down instead of that shortcut.
This is a battle for position. This is for currently 12th place. Gore holding down that spot, but the 67 behind him certainly threatening.
A little bit of wing damage affecting them as well, maybe.
Oh, he's going to take a look. There. Down to the inside, into Honda hairpin. Gore does not defend. Wildridge sneaks through easily up into P12.
And this is hurting Mark Feil right behind him as well, who runs 3rd. As Gore goes off just a little bit behind him. Eric Luke tries to slip through.
Yeah, this is lap traffic. These are blue flags that these drivers are now having to deal with the early stops they've made. I think McManus is going to join them. He's come into the pits.
Well, I'm surprised that this lap traffic hasn't triggered more of these front runners to come in and pit. Oh, David Unger is...
There you go. There's the answer. Did he speed, though? Oh, he was... He locked him up coming in. I'm going to double check here.
I think he's clean.
It's Let's watch the replay. This would be great from on board.
Looks like a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. I think he's clean despite taking out the cone.
Yep, he made it in time. I double checked it, but certainly made life a little bit scarier than it needed to be. Highest pitter behind him is Paul Wildridge, and I don't expect Wildridge to be anywhere close to him. Unger's got a long stop though. What's going on?
Ooh.
Oh. A little bit of damage. Looks like it's been put back into place. A 24-second stop. This is not the first time that we've seen Unger have a long stop. So as we jump back up to the battle for fourth place, what is now fourth place, Andrew and McLaughlin, who have both yet to pit.
Andrew continuing to hold him off. But we've seen McLaughlin really close in on a couple of guys tonight, including Andrew. He might want to jump up one more spot before he makes a stop.
Certainly would. Maybe this is something where McLaughlin needs to try and short pit to see if he can jump Andrew. Because remember, McLaughlin is the one coming forward. Andrew is the one that gained spots, as you said, and now is just kind of holding steady. And there you go. McLaughlin's listening to me. Overbay is in as well. He was in a fight with our leader, David Unger, but they were 5 seconds apart. Granted, a regular stop is looking at like 17 seconds, and David Unger had 24. That is within that 5-second window that Overbay needs.
That promotes Luke to the lead. You see Unger there.
Overbay still stationary. Now he's going 15 seconds. It is a lightning stop for the number one car. Our current champion comes out into the pit lane. Unger's going. This is going to be very close.
I think Overbay's got him.
And he's got him by about 1.3 seconds. Unger's lost out. But if he can get in that draft, we've seen it been awful mighty on the front stretch.
David Unger, who started from the pole, we haven't seen him fight guys yet in this race too much. Haven't seen him in this situation a whole lot. He just kind of started pulling away from the field, but you can already see that gap shrinking up to Overbay.
I suspect that the radical of Overbay is now going to become as wide as an aircraft carrier. He's going to defend this with his life to keep Unger from overtaking him because he needs these points to try and gain, set himself up to have a shot at the final round. Peek left and right.
This is just how close Unger has gotten, just like that. Defensive there for Overbay.
Down into MG. He holds him back for now, but look at how close he is. I think that this is going to be easy pickings down the front stretch. Let's watch and see.
Overbay's going to have to set himself up so that even if Unger is able to get past him, he can take him right back in the southern loop. Lots of different racing lines available through there.
He's defending the left side, so that even though that's the outside of Doohan, it's going to be the inside of the southern loop, and he's going to swing back into second as David Unger returns to the lead. Well, what will be the lead? He's now scored in second place, waiting on Luke to take his stop.
Eric Luke staying out pretty long, down up to about the 15-minute to go mark. I've got to imagine he's got to come in a couple laps.
I wonder if Unger can try and hold on, or excuse me, if Overbay can hold on to Unger. And just as I say that, Overbay's now losing time through these slower sections, 1.1 behind. So I don't think that Overbay is going to be able to stay with him as we see Eric Luke finally take his pit stop.
So that's going to put Unger right back in the lead. You see him there coming through. Still quite a ways to go to overtake, but he will get there eventually.
Luke's in his pit stall. Let's see. There's a 15-second stop for Overbay, lightning fast. And it is looking like 17 for Luke, just pulling out as Unger and Overbay goes by. His teammate is going to be coming through, but is his teammate going to be ahead of him? I think not. Actually, it looks like Luke is going to stay ahead of File. Oh, the 777 knows the story. He knows what the situation is, so he's going to stay rank and file in his team. Allow Eric Luke to get those points.
This battle behind him. Looks like Curlin Andrew has just gotten by McLaughlin for 6th. Take a look at this again.
Now, this was weird. McLaughlin look at how far ahead he was, and then suddenly he's way wide, and it's almost like he lets Andrew through.
Yeah, and Andrew was on the inside on the front stretch too. I think he had to have let him through because not much slipstream at all through there. You can see McLaughlin kicking up a little dirt. He was so far on the outside.
Strange incident. Those two are not teammates. Andrew races for Banana Split. Meanwhile, oh, nice little fight here. This is for 9th place. Looks like Wildridge recently had the overtake, and once again, yet another pass into the first corner with the slipstream. I'll need to go back and see that one. Oh, in fact, let's not, because he almost gets into the side of Wildridge. Tyler Gore manages not to gore Paul. And let's watch the replay from on board.
Very sketchy situation for Paul Wildridge, especially looking back in the mirrors there. We're right on board with Tyler Gore. He showed up in a hurry.
And look, he was giving him space.
Yeah.
Just barely enough space. A great heads up by Wildridge to see that coming and just go a little wide. Keep the car whole.
And he was able to hang on to that spot as well. Oh, issues for McLaughlin, his teammate, though. Let's take a look at what happened here with the number 5.
He comes into the pits. I don't see him hit anything.
He's got some damage at that point, so this had to have been earlier.
Oh, you know, we have our explanation for why he let him by. Because shortly before that, he spun the tires coming out of MG. He hit the wall. This might be a little far back to catch, but we'll see if we've got it. He hit the side. I think his car is just simply damaged, and he's had to come in to get repairs.
That's exactly it. Just hooked the tire barriers a little bit a couple laps ago, and that's going to be enough to ruin his night, take him out of the lead lap contention, yeah.
And speaking of the lead lap, I think we only have 11? Yeah, 11 cars on the lead lap. That's going to be 10 very soon because David Hebert is getting blue flags shaken at him. And there you go. 10 cars left on the lead lap.
Doesn't look like Joe Walker is too far ahead of Unger either. I think he might definitely catch him in the next 11 minutes. Might be down to single digits in terms of cars on the lead lap after a 45-minute race here.
Attrition with a big, giant A here at Australia. But the Australian, the local, is the one who's been dominating. He lost the lead due to a long stop, we think, due to repairs on the car. And once he got by Overbay the second time, he just took off like a shot. I mean, it's already 4.5 seconds from first to second. This is a stomping.
Curlin Andrew, on the other hand, this is back for 5th place. He rides in 6th, but Christopher Richards ahead of him in 5th, really under fire from that number 12 car. Andrew's been fast tonight.
He was up as high as 4th at one point. I'm sure he'd like to get back there. The car behind them that you see is Gunderson. He is not for position. That's a lapped car. So this is mainly between the 12 and the 49.
Andrew's got the run, but he doesn't quite have the room through the southern loop here to make it work. Can't quite get it to stick. Gets alongside of him, has to back out.
Making Richards think twice. And these two fought last round at Sebring as well. This is nothing new between them. They know each other. They know their tricks, they know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and one of those is Honda corner for Christopher Richards, who slides all the way off into the grass and loses out to Andrew, returns to the top 5.
Andrew's got a long way to go now and before he reaches Mark File. Ahead of him, 6.7 seconds, as you see there on screen, so might not be able to catch him, but Andrew's going to slot himself at least the top 5 if he can hang on to it.
Going down to 7th place, Wildridge coming back. He's currently in 8th place. That's Cristelli in the number 9 up ahead of him. Down in the Honda corner. Not in position to attack, but certainly continuing to gain time. It went down another 10th through that hairpin.
David Cristelli continues to impress us. He's only been on the scene here in the PRL Radical Racing Series for a couple of weeks, but it's been top 10 pace out of him every time we've seen him.
And I'm trying to remember, did we see Cristelli last week? Because I feel like he wasn't around at Sebring. At least he didn't really make himself that known. But regardless, seems to be faring well down under. Right on board with him. The New Englanders' rear wing looking underneath it. Back at the car, Paul Wildridge. Wildridge lost a couple tenths on the latter half of that lap. Come onto the front stretch, and though the slipstream is causing him to gain those 2 tenths back, that's not much consolation for the number 67 as he continues to try and chase. Oh wow, did File have a problem? He was much farther ahead of Andrew before this, was he not?
I can't imagine. I know Curlin Andrew's fast, but that'd be really fast. Yeah, he did have a problem. This is in the chicane far back. Don't think we're going to be able to get a replay of this, but he actually did loop it around a little bit.
We definitely don't want to replay because right now, Curlin's got the inside coming down towards Doohan. We've seen this work out before. It's going to work out for another time as File has to slot in behind. Call him Curlin the Comeback Kid because the number 12 back up to 4th. Less than 7 minutes to go. He's gotten by File, but can he shake him now that he's made the overtake?
Definitely going to be a fight back here from Mark File. We know File in team orders with Eric Luke, but this shouldn't affect them at all. No reason for File not to attack here for 4th.
Absolutely. The team championship still very much up for grabs, so
gives them every more reason to attack here.
File and Luke have certainly been getting some good points this season as he tries to stay with Andrew, but he's dropped back to nearly a second in just this one lap. So while that separates, 7th place cinches together. That's who we were watching before, Cristelli and Wildridge.
These are the last 2 cars on the lead lap, believe it or not. We're down to 8 on the lead lap.
Such is the pace that Unger has been running. He is now nearly 10 seconds ahead of Overbay.
Unbelievable.
I don't think he got that far ahead in the first stint. That's amazing that he's repassed him and gotten that far.
Must be not only good at this track, but also good at maneuvering around traffic at this track.
And dealing with the heat, it's actually gone up around here. It is 108 on the surface, another 5 degrees hotter. And look at the wind. Holy cow! The sea breeze is coming in.
It is indeed. Right on the island here, right off the coast, down near Melbourne.
Well, that makes this all the more impressive that the number 19 has put on the show that he has. Man, we cannot get away from the 7th place fight. Sorry, David, you're just not that interesting when you're running by yourself. It's time to put the cameras on Cristelli and Wildridge once more.
Wildridge going a little bit wide there. As we ride on board with him, still trying to chase him down. Still trying to get in his wake here.
He's getting close, but I think it feels like that's mostly due to the front stretch, because that was shortly after the front stretch. He was that tight behind him.
He's getting pretty tight through these technical sections as well. You can see Wildridge take a little bit of a different line, trying to get a later apex, a better run off the corners.
He's going to have a tow coming uphill through Hayshed up into Lukey Heights. Not quite long enough of a flat-out section, though. He withstands the buffeting, in fact, very well. Look at him close coming through there. Wildridge, incredibly strong, thinks about it through MG, but reconsiders.
A little bit too strong there as he locked it up just a bit.
This hurt his chances. Dropped back to about half a second.
I think he might be able to get him back, at least catch him back to where he was before here on the front stretch. You can see Cristelli trying to go to the inside and now towards the outside to break that draft.
How brave is he? There's not many laps left. He's going to let it go for now. Paul Wildridge stays in 8th. Cristelli keeps 7th. Losing laps here. So David Hebert and Tyler Gore have swapped positions once a little bit ago. Now they might swap them again. That's Gore you see in the pink and teal car, gaining on the red, black, and yellow of David Hebert. Hebert's going to try and defend the inside. This might actually work out for him. And it does. Gore backs out.
Oh, side by side.
Gives it another go coming into the southern loop. Continuing to hassle them. He might have something coming into Honda corner. Let's see if he's willing to risk it. He's got a nose inside. He's deep on the brakes. Can he make the apex? Not quite. Over under. There goes David Hebert back to the lead, to the 10th position.
Yeah, Gore got him for the moment, but then Hebert just able to take that back. Just had the better turn overall.
Greedy down into that hairpin, unfortunately. And 2 laps to go this time by for our overall leader. It's David Unger coming onto the front stretch.
Wildridge back in 8th, still trying to chase down Cristelli in 7th. This battle has not lightened up at all. The last 2 cars in the lead lap still.
Down towards Honda. Cristelli is the car you see in the blue, white, and green. The cyan and black is Paul Wildridge. Both of them nice and smooth through that tricky Honda hairpin. No wheel spin for them.
Wildridge seems to have lost a little time there even.
Speaking of losing time, Unger is coming, but I don't think he's going to be able to lap them, because Unger's going to get the white flag this time by. David Unger comes down through MG, and then through the penultimate turn. He's already got 14 seconds over Overbay. This has become a rout. Not missing anything in the battle we were watching before. They haven't had any overtakes down there. David Unger on his final lap of the penultimate round. He comes through the southern loop. Oh, and a mistake from Cristelli. A mistake out of the southern loop is going to hand it on a silver platter over to Paul Wildridge. I think he's going to come back at him if he gets a whiff of it, though. He is still within about 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, Cristelli's not going to like that ending. He's going to try to take him back. Might not get an opportunity, though, until the front stretch.
Sorry, we had a big accident with Mark Feil trying to lap David Hebert. They came together. Both of them went into the tires out of Swan. I think Feil had to take a tow. He's not going to get to finish this race.
Oh, that is tough.
Look at that hit.
Ran in 5th at the time as we take a look back at Unger, our leader. Just a few turns left.
Yeah, that's Lukey Heights. Oh, and that's Cristelli, who has spun. And I saw some tire tracks. I believe Paul Wildridge might have either hit the barrier or went way off into the gravel. But he's well ahead of Cristelli, and he's ahead of this man. David Unger comes around Swan Corner, and it's going to be the 4th victory of the season out of 9 rounds so far for David Unger on home court this time for the 19.
Eric Luke began to close in on Overbay, but I don't think he's going to have it late in the going. Overbay managing that gap.
Too little too late, it looks like. So Overbay takes second. Luke, the final step on the podium. And despite everything, Curlin Andrew, once again, his second 4th place in a row. Well deserved, I'd say, for the number 12 as he crosses the line. Richards, who is not battling the car that you see with him. That is McManus, who is a lap down. Very few cars left on the lead lap, to be frank. So the 49 easily going to get 6, and no battles behind him. Wildridge manages to finish on the lead lap. The last car on the lead lap in 6th place, as we saw Cristelli having to get the car turned back around, finishing behind our leaders. So with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back after a short break to bring you the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you can see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC.
Hello from Dream Vacations. We look forward to helping you plan a cruise vacation where you can race your friends on the top deck while cruising the oceans, or you can compete with your friends in style with virtual reality racing on board. If cruising is not for you, we can send you to Germany where you can challenge the ring, or whisk you off to Abu Dhabi to take on the world's fastest roller coaster in Ferrari World. Whatever your dream vacation may be, let Dream Vacations handle the details and make that dream into reality. Visit us at www.travelwithanangel.com.
Welcome back to Phillip Island. David Unger, the Aussie in this series, took a home victory today here at the island. He did it from pole, but he didn't lead every lap. He got overtaken with a slow stop, had to fight his way forward, and then really showed everybody what speed is. Overbay got home second. It was awful tight between himself and Luke. They finish in the order that they are in the points championship. Luke taking third. Curlin Andrew will be fourth once again, and Christopher Richards gets a nice top five. Paul Wildridge with a sixth place, having come from 11th. And the last car in the lead lap, incredibly, they were so tough to drive around here that many drivers fell laps down or just simply DNF'd. David Cristelli finishes in 7th, Joe Walker in 8th, and then Tyler Gore 9th. Top 10 is rounded out by Ronald McManus.
Continuing with drivers a lap down, Andy Spicer and David A. Bear 1 lap down in 11th and 12th. 2 laps down behind them is going to be Mark Feil, a tough way for him to end such a strong top 5 run he had going for him. Owen McLaughlin, lots of speed out of the 5 car as well. He finishes 6 laps down in 14th, right in front of Matthew Gunnarsson, 7 laps down after a very early accident. Tried to fight back. He's going to manage the top 15s, though, still with that damage. Danny Duchesne, Scotty Zerk, going to be 15 and 23 laps down. Daniel Barnett, also 23 laps down. Phil Gilman going to be behind them in 19th. Stevie Ray back in 20th. Jefferson Padovani with the very early incident going to finish in 21st. And William Leah did not start. Is going to round out our 22-car grid.
And we have the top of that 22-car grid ready to talk to us. David Unger, our winner here today. Hey, David, first question to you that I have after a quick congratulations is, what happened with your pit stop? You were much longer than everybody else we saw.
I can't hear you guys. Sorry, I've got a problem.
Right.
Let me come back to you if possible.
All right. Well, we'll let David go work out his issues with Discord here. In the meantime, we've got Nick ready to talk to second place driver Michael Overbay.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Overbay coming home with a second place finish today after starting second on the grid. Man, David Unger was fast. I don't have to tell you that, but that was a tough race for you, I'm sure, to watch there in second.
Yeah, he was pretty fast today. I could hang with him for the first 10 laps, and then I've been feeling ill today, so I got really tired. I just couldn't turn it as good anymore. It's like, just let him go and settle in.
Oh, yeah, that's always tough. Now, your pit strategy did work out for you for a little bit. You actually came out in front of him. Did you find it very easy to hang on there in front of him, or just feeling the pressure, or what all happened on that cycle?
No, really, I had to turn the feedback down on my wheel because I was just getting so weak from my illness, so I couldn't feel anything. So when he got up behind me, I was just going to let him go because I couldn't hold with him, and I didn't want to wreck him. I know we were racing for a championship, but if I got beside him, I was afraid I might hit him or something, so I didn't want that to happen. I just wanted to kind of just bring it to the end. I don't know what happened to him on the pit. I don't know what took him so long on the pit, because I took more fuel than I needed, so I didn't know why he was so slow there.
Wow, well, I mean, despite being ill tonight, a second place finish is no joke. A fantastic run there. I mean, for really honest, the whole race, we had some pretty tough conditions out on track, very hot out there, and also very windy off the coast. Were you feeling much of that as well with all the illness?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The track getting as hot as it did, boy, them tires just wanted to light up off of every corner. It was all you could do. You just had a baby's of throttle coming out. I don't know how his car was handling so good.
Yeah, it was a pretty locked in there for most of that race. So we head to Montreal for the finale. Last thoughts before you go battle him for a championship there?
Yeah, I wish him good luck. I think he pretty much has it in the bag now. All he has to do is really finish, I think. But, I mean, we'll give it a shot. I don't know the track, so we'll learn it next week. But, yeah, I wish him good luck. I kind of say thanks to Alpine Stars, Geodesic Racing, GoPro, and you guys for putting on the show here. You guys do a great job.
Yeah, we absolutely love to watch great racing like that. Congratulations on your second place finish tonight. Get feeling better. We want to see a fantastic race next week at Montreal.
I'll give it a shot. Thanks, guys.
That was second place, Michael Overbay. We've also got the bottom step of the podium, Eric Luke, with us. He chased down Michael, but it certainly looked like he might not be able to in a few cases. Because, Eric, even though we're at the island, I don't think you expected to hit the beach multiple times.
That's an understatement. I only did that once in practice, finding the braking points, and I did it twice in the race, and that pretty much sealed the deal for me right there. After that, there was pretty much no coming back from that.
Yeah, it certainly looked like things were slipping through your fingers, especially with Unger up there winning. Now, what about with Overbay? Did you feel like as you got closer to him at the end that you might have a shot to get into second, or did you think he was just kind of managing it on his way home?
I think he was managing it on his way home. It's very difficult to pass in the back part of the section of the track here without getting really, really risky. And it wouldn't have been worth the points to try to make that kind of pass on the back half of the track, just simply because it could completely wreck the rest of the championship for us. I mean, I know we only got one round to go and it's a long shot, but it would have pretty much destroyed it. So I would have pretty much just stayed behind him unless he made an unforced error.
Now, next week, with it being the final round of all the places they could have chosen for this car, it's a track with a lot of low-speed corners where this thing has a lot of wheel spin, and it's got walls around either side almost everywhere. What's your feelings heading over to Montreal?
I'll let you know when I turn a lap. I've never turned a lap there before. So, yeah, it's going to be real interesting.
I can tell you, start practicing now. It's a challenge. So, but congratulations on a third place today. I know things are not looking good for the championship, but still, you've had a phenomenal season, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. You guys do an excellent job. And thanks again. I appreciate it.
It was Eric Luke finishing in third today. Real quick, we're going to try David Unger one more time. David, you got a copy?
I do, Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you. All right.
All right.
So the big question on everybody's mind is, what caused you to have a long pit stop?
I took tyres.
Oh, interesting.
But
And that's, go ahead.
Sorry, Joe, before you go any further, I'd just like to say to my pit boss and my pit crew, you're fired.
Well, it seemed to certainly help you in the race. You absolutely streamed away from everybody with these hot temperatures. That explains a lot, honestly. But I mean, other than that, you still managed to pull a gap of about 5-6 seconds to that first pit stop to Overbay. Do you consider this a home track for you, being one of the Australian tracks here in iRacing?
Well, I'll be honest with you. All this week, I was not confident at all. I wasn't happy with my times. I wasn't happy with my practice. And then last night, I spoke to my teammate, Eric Harmon, and he said, look, Dave, all you have to do is keep it on the track. That's all you've got to do. And that instilled a lot of confidence in me, and I was able to do that today. And yes, I do consider it my home track.
Fantastic. Well, I bet that makes it even more special, and actually gives us a little bit of a question that we could ask you then, because we were getting the Peanut Gallery giving us some advice on the first corner. How would you pronounce it? Because I guess we Americans were potentially botching it.
I don't even know what the name of it is.
Well, we've been calling it Doohan, so we were told
Doohan.
maybe
it's
Doohan. Okay,
yes, Doohan, and that's, I don't know if you know why that's named, but it's after the great MotoGP racer, Australian MotoGP racer Mick Doohan.
I did know that it was named after him, but I'd only seen his name in text, so we will keep that in mind in the future. Again, congratulations, sir. That was an impressive run here, and I hope you enjoy your home victory.
Thanks very much, guys.
That was David Unger giving us a little bit of a lesson on how to say some of the corner names here. Real quick, we've got an interview between Nick and Curlin Andrew.
Yeah, I've caught up with Curlin Andrew. Fourth place finish for him tonight. Another fourth place finish for him tonight. We're starting to rack up these top 5 finishes late in the season, so not battling for points, but Curlin, you were pretty fast tonight.
Yeah, most importantly, I didn't do any mistakes, which is something that has plagued me all season. So yeah, I'm a pretty good drive tonight.
Yeah, every time we looked at you, you were either closing in on someone or fending off someone or just stuck in a battle. In traffic, did you feel any of the effects? We had a really hot track temperature and lots of wind gusting tonight. How difficult was that just to hold your line through a difficult track and with all that traffic around you?
Yeah, in turn one, if I was following closely behind someone, I had to lift through turn one. Normally, I would be flat out through there. Midway through the race, through my first fuel stint, I lost pace for whatever reason. I was driving as hard as I was in the beginning, but I was about 5 or 6 tenths per lap off the pace, and I couldn't understand why or where the pace went.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough track. Catches out even the most veteran drivers. Any final thoughts of the season before we head to Montreal next week? You excited about that track? It's definitely going to be another tricky challenge, I think, for the Radical.
Yeah, I'm excited about Montreal. I wish I didn't throw so many points away. In the first 4 races, I ran out of fuel. At Watkins Glen, I was running third at the time that I ran out of fuel. Probably would have finished top 5 there as well. And the 3 races that followed, so I left quite a bit of points on the table. So I should be top 5 or top 3 right now in points because I've been relatively consistent throughout the season, with the exception of the fuel. I guess I was consistent running out of fuel as well. So, but anyway, I enjoyed the season. I finished all the races, and yes, I'm looking forward to Montreal.
All right, we are as well. Congratulations on your great drive from starting 7th on the grid up to 4th tonight. Wouldn't be surprised if you get something like that done next week at Montreal as well.
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to it. Thank you, guys.
That was 4th place finisher Curlin Andrew, who has found his feet lately in the car. Now, let's give a quick thank you to a few people before we go, especially to Dream Vacations for sponsoring this season of the Radical Racing Series. If you want to check them out, go to travelwithanangel.com and they can help you out. Hopefully, they can help you get to some place as beautiful as this. Also, a big thank you goes out to iRacing for putting us on the iRacing Esports Network. When you get the opportunity, go to their YouTube page and subscribe by clicking the big red button that says subscribe. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work, including one of her new songs. You just heard the instrumental version here tonight. She just released an EP lately that you can buy. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Next race, as we mentioned, we're going up north instead of down south. It is Canada at Montreal, Thursday, May 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.